Hello, everyone. Welcome back to DJ and the Zooms. I am Jay, and I'm still knitting. In case you were wondering, I'm making one of these hoods with the long sides that you wrap around your neck, like a scarf, for my goddaughter. And I don't knit very fast, so it's taken me ages. I wanted to gift it to her for her birthday, which was in March. So now I'm aiming for Christmas. But it's going all right. It's not looking too bad. Anyway, once again, there was no race this weekend. So it's just you and me for a change. And I've been racking my brain to know what to say in this episode, because we've already talked about the fact that I wanted to talk about the regulations and the technical side. And because it is a subject that I don't know much about yet, that I haven't mastered, and that I'm pretty scared of, because I don't have a scientific mind. I've always been more of a literary person. I think it's something that's going to take me a lot of time and a lot of research, and I neither have the time nor the energy at the moment to do it justice. So I was looking for something kind of like light-hearted and fun to do and to talk about today, because also I realize that the last few episodes have been a little on the serious and depressing side. And I don't want that to be a recurring thing or theme in this podcast. So I wanted something that could be easy to talk about and that we could have fun with. And I realized I never really told you about the times when I've been to a Grand Prix. I mentioned it here and there, probably in the discussions we had over Christmas and in the winter, but I never truly took the time to make an episode about it or talk about it in depth. So this is what we're going to do today. Hold on, it's too warm to have my hair down. Let me go get something to tie it up. There we go. I've also let the windows open for the same reason, just to sort of get some air flowing. So if you hear some noise, and I'm sure you will, because I do not live in a quiet neighborhood, that's the reason. Just know that I am slowly cooking. That's also the reason why last week's episode was recorded in the pitch darkness, because I had been living with the curtains drawn to keep the sunlight from making it an actual oven in here. Anywho, the first Grand Prix that I ever went to is, I guess, a lot of people's dream Grand Prix. And I was extremely lucky to be able to go as soon as I went. I'd been following Formula One for about a year when I received a DM on Instagram from an old friend from university saying, "Hey, I've seen that you like Formula One now. My brother is a marshal. Would you like to come over and watch the Grand Prix if he manages to get you some invites?" And I was like, yeah. And it was the Monaco Grand Prix. So I thought, listen, Monaco, and I would only have to pay for travel and accommodation. Sign me up. Plus, I got to see my friend, whom I don't see very often because I live on the other side of France compared to Monaco. So it was a no-brainer. And it was in 2024. So at first she said she had 2 invites for the Saturday. And then like a few days later, she said, okay, he managed to get also invites for the Sunday. Craziness. Just unbelievable. Kindness from her and from him. And luck. I was over the moon. The Saturday we were sitting in front of the marina. So we were in the grandstand and we could see all the yachts in front of us, which was pretty crazy. And we got to see like the action, and it was very hot. And what I remember was the noise of hearing, because the cars were starting, the pit lane was behind us. So we couldn't see it, but we could hear a lot of it. And I remember hearing them like starting and passing behind us, and knowing that they were going to go around and then to be in front of us. It was so exciting. And there was this little girl sitting behind us. And every time she saw a Mercedes, because it was a Mercedes at the time, she would scream, Hamilton, Hamilton, Hamilton. It was so much fun. It was adorable. And there was like, it was the first glance at the atmosphere in a Formula One Grand Prix. We were staying in Nice and going back and forth with the trains, which was, I think it's a good option when you go to Monaco to the Grand Prix to stay in Nice and just take the train. It's much cheaper and practical, especially since we would go pretty early. So before the trains were crowded. It was a little more difficult in the afternoon because, the action ends at the same time for everyone. So everyone's on the train at the same time. We didn't stay for the party because the friend that I came with, which was not the friend whose brother is a marshal, another friend, she was ill, unfortunately. So she was a real trooper. She powered through the weekend with I don't remember what it was, but she was in pretty bad shape. And we woke up like really early, like 4 or 5 a.m. to be at the circuit as early as possible. But I couldn't make her stay until the middle of the night. On the Sunday, we were in general admissions on the Rocher, which means we had to sort of climb in the mud. It wasn't mud because it was completely dry, but like dust. And I was definitely not ready for it, not dressed for the occasion at all. I had the flowy pants, and I was so unprepared to just like, because I was stepping on them and slipping and sliding in the dust. Fortunately, when we arrived, I think it was like 6:30 in the morning on the Sunday when we got to the track, and there was only like a small group of Italian men sitting where we ended up deciding to sit, and they helped us, held our hands. And it was so much fun because I had my friend whom I came with is a Ferrari fan, so no problem. But I was there with my McLaren sweatshirt, and I have this. Hold on, let me show you. Because I made it myself, like fully customized. I can't find it. It must be in the car, but I have this tote bag that I made that says "Hot Girls Support Lando Norris." And so the guy was helping me get down the hill, like on the Rocher, and holding my hand so that I didn't fall. And then he goes, I I said thank you, and he goes, "Oh, it's no problem." And then he goes, "What? McLaren? Oh no!" And he let go of my hand for a joke, obviously, because afterwards he said, "Oh, Norris, well, it's okay then." And I thought, "What do you mean, Norris? It's okay then? Would it not have been okay if I was a Piastri fan?" But it was just a joke. We spent the day there. As the day went on, it got progressively more crowded, and so it became very complicated to go to the bathroom. But the fun part was that, so we had these Ferrari fans, obviously, I said they were Italian, on our left, and on our right, more and more Red Bull fans started coming in. And remember, this was 2024. So Max Verstappen was still dominating the sport. But the people on our right were mostly Checo fans. But it was fun. Like, it was fun being the only McLaren fan, standing between the Ferrari fans and the Red Bull fans. I didn't say anything, but I had my own little giggle inwardly. And then, obviously, I'm sure you've been waiting for me to say it, because you know exactly what happened and who won in Monaco in 2024. Charles Leclerc? It was an experience. It was something being in Monaco on the day that Charles finally won his home Grand Prix and seeing everyone celebrate and feeling this overwhelming joy everywhere. Because, like, everyone's happy when Charles Leclerc wins Monaco. You have to. I feel like we'd all been waiting for it. I, as I said, had only been a Formula One fan for a year, but still, years went in the making of this win. And he deserved it. And it was beautiful. And my friend cried. So that was my first Grand Prix experience. One thing that I'll say about Monaco, though, is it really is a small place and it gets very crowded. So trying to get anywhere in Monaco during the Grand Prix, walking through the streets is a mission because there's a lot of people. And it's not like, obviously, the city, it wasn't made for welcoming a Formula One Grand Prix, right? It's a city. And it's an old one at that. So it's not made for having this many people roaming around for an entire weekend. So that was maybe, I wouldn't even say the downside, but it is something to keep in mind if you're planning on going. But it was a lot of fun. It's a beautiful place. And again, like I said, there's this camaraderie that comes with hundreds of thousands of people gathering for something that they all love and appreciate. The second Grand Prix I went to was also in 2024, but it was in June. Wait, was it in June? I think it was at the end of June. I'll check. Oh, it was at the end of July. Yes, I remember because we left on the day after my birthday. Yes. And it was Budapest, the Hungarian Grand Prix. I went with another friend to Budapest. First of all, it was 35 degrees Celsius. Boiling hot. Honestly, like today it's 22 degrees here and I still had to tie my hair up because I was feeling too hot. So you can imagine what 35 degrees does to me. It was no fun. But the Hungarian Grand Prix happens on like a permanent track, which means it's built to welcome this many people. I think it was 300,000, something like that, over the weekend. So it didn't feel as crowded as Monaco had. And it's very it felt very well organized. You take the train, you get to the station, you've got free buses every 10 minutes. No problem. Again, we were waking up early and arriving at the track early, so we never ended up being with the crowds, except for the evenings, because again, it finishes at the same time for everyone. So the great thing is that the train station is only 20 minutes away, a 20-minute walk. So after the excitement of the day, you get to take a little walk before you get into the train with a lot of people. And it was very hot in the train. Wow. But we made it. Again, it felt very fun. I loved the track, honestly. It was so nice being there. Like, again, you get to a place, it's like an amusement park. It's like going to Disneyland. You get to a place that is completely focused on this thing that you love, and you're surrounded by people who are completely focused on this thing that you love for the entire weekend. And it's just a lot of fun, and you get a reason to talk to anyone, and there's really no judgment when you're really in there, in person, I mean. Because we've talked about what it's like on the internet today as a woman who loves motorsports, as a woman who supports Lando Norris. It's not always a walk in the park. Well, real people who get to go to a Grand Prix aren't bitter a-holes. The thing that you may remember about Hungary 2024 is that McLaren were starting to get very competitive and to be at the front, and they didn't know how to handle it. This hasn't changed. They've literally been world champion for 2 years in a row, and they now have the drivers champion as well, but still, they can't handle strategy. Anyway, so that's the Grand Prix where they messed up the pit stop strategy and ended up having Lando undercut Oscar and having to ask Lando to give up the position and let Oscar win. And that was Oscar's first win. So we got Charles winning in Monaco and Oscar's first win in Budapest. It should have been such a great experience. And yet it felt completely off because everyone, you know what? After the race, everyone felt sort of numb. Or maybe I got the impression that everyone was the way that I was feeling, but I felt completely like as if I'd been hit over the head. I was again with a Ferrari fan. My friend was a Ferrari fan. Most of my friends are Ferrari fans. And hearing, when you're at a Grand Prix, obviously it's a very noisy place. So there are large screens for everyone to follow the rest of the race because you're at the track, you can see your bit of the track, but that's it. So there's screens so that you can follow the whole race. And there are loudspeakers so that you can sort of hear the commentary. And so we could hear some of the radios, but not all of it. Thankfully, I'd been a Lando fan for quite a while by that point, so I was used to the way he and Will communicate. So I could understand what was going on, and I could understand that Will was pressuring him and getting sort of impatient, and my friend didn't really understand that, and she said, well, what's going on? So it was very confusing. Plus the heat and the fact that I wanted to collect the Eco Cups. And when I got there, the first person I asked in one of the booths to get the food or drinks said that you could only get one of the collectible Eco Cups if you ordered beer. I don't like beer, and it's Heineken, which isn't a good beer anyway. But my weekend was fueled by a Heineken so that I could get all 4 collectible Eco Cups. That was kind of a lot, but it was a nice time anyway. It was fun. Yeah, I got to see. I loved being able to go to the stage and see Laurent Mekies and James Vowles talk about Formula One and their vision and recruiting. One of them said, and I don't remember, I think it was Laurent. One of them said that he understands that people who want to work in Formula One feel like it's not achievable because it's very difficult to find a job in Formula One. But he said it's also very difficult for us to recruit people who are motivated and competent. So if you're motivated and competent, don't give up because we need you. And it gave me a lot of hope because I was already I knew that I didn't want to do what I was doing anymore. And I was already looking for something else that I could do. But I didn't know what to do yet. And I didn't really dare hoping to be able to work in Formula One. And I think I needed to hear those words to allow me to build that hope. So now you know why I have so much boundless love for Laurent Mekies, other than the fact that he has great hair. The third Grand Prix that I went to was maybe the best. Well, it was a mixed experience. It was Silverstone last year, 2025. I had been dreaming of going to Silverstone for 2 years. And when Lando launched the Lando stand, like there was no way I couldn't not go. I knew it was completely unreasonable financially, but I felt like you only have one life, right? And I had to. It was obvious that it was going to be a historic moment. I went with another friend who this time is also a Lando fan. We got our tickets together so that we could sit next to each other in the Lando stand, and it was so much fun. We ended up going to with a third friend who didn't get her tickets at the same time as us, so she wasn't sitting with us. But we rented an Airbnb together, and I live in the north of France, so we took my car and we just went. We drove to England, which was great because then I had flown to Monaco, flown to Budapest, and then you get there and you completely depend on public transport, which I was lucky enough that it was very well organized in Budapest and fairly accessible in Monaco. But I'd been to Silverstone in 2023. Yes, I'd been to Silverstone in December of 2023 because I wanted to go to the museum. And so at that time, I was spending like a few days in London and decided to also go to Silverstone. And so I had to take public transport. Took the train to Milton Keynes and then the bus. And it was very complicated. And I missed the bus on my way back from Silverstone. And I didn't have any, my phone was dead. I didn't have any battery anymore. And I completely panicked. Ended up finding, actually, it was the security guard from the Silverstone Museum that drove me back to Milton Keynes, which is a 20-minute drive, but he lived near it, so he took me with him. Thankfully, you can always find kind people, especially in the UK, to help you. But that taught me a lesson, which was don't go to Silverstone via public transport. So in 2024, when Lando launched Lando Stand, and my friend and I decided to take our tickets, I told her, because I want to have my car. If I'm going to Silverstone, I want to have my car with me. And so that's what we did. Plus, we knew, like I said, we knew it wasn't reasonable financially, and we knew it was going to cost us a lot of money to go for transport, for accommodation, and for life there, food, etc. So we figured if we have the car, we can rent an accommodation that's farther away, and we won't have trouble driving to and from the circuit. So that's what we did. We rented a house, an Airbnb, an hour away from Silverstone, and we would drive there and back morning and evening. I would drive there and back morning and evening. I was the designated driver. Silverstone 2025 was very sunny on the Friday, sunny and hot. And we queued for the Lando store for 3 hours in the sun. Thankfully, there was Lando Monster for free, so we could at least get hydrated, because wow, that was a mission. And then I don't remember how quali went. I think it was okay. Also sunny on the Saturday. Oh yeah, that's the day that Max Futrell went. And I saw him from afar, but I was like, wow, he's a lot cuter in person. He's already very cute in his streams and in quadrant videos and everything. But I was like, ooh, he's hot in person. Anyway, met Max, met the Red Flags podcast guys. It was a little awkward, but they tried to, when they heard that I am French, they tried to ask me how to pronounce the name of a pastry, because they had tried to talk to Isaac about it and he hadn't understood them. So I explained how to pronounce it, and I explained it's not from where Isaac is from. So there's also a possibility that he's just never heard of it, because it's from almost where Pierre and Esteban are from. But Isaac being from Paris, there's a real possibility that he'd never heard about it. Anyway, fun day. Unfortunately, once again, my friend got ill, so we had a bit of a scare. Spent 3 hours in the medical center. But anyway, and the Sunday was very rainy, so we got drenched from the moment we got to the track. It was because obviously it had been so sunny and hot the previous days. That's how you get storms, especially in places like here or in the UK. So we got there and it was stormy, like lightning, torrential rain. I love rain, but I got really cold. And then the race, I rewatched it later on TV, but I don't, it's still sort of a blur. But from the track, it was magical. There's something I mentioned earlier, the atmosphere when you're in a place full of people who are interested in the same thing as you are, and the place itself is centered around something you're interested in and that you love. But being in Lando Stand was another level entirely. Of course, there were people standing behind us who made it a point to cheer for anyone other than Lando. We'd heard about it. There were people who had threatened when the tickets went on sale, who had said that they had gotten Lando stand tickets just to ruin the experience. And some who said we're not Lando fans, but he had put a cost cap on his tickets. So they were cheaper than the rest of the seats. So some people who weren't Lando fans just bought them because they were more accessible, more affordable. So there was like a row of people behind us who would cheer for anyone and everyone other than Lando. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Other than that, you're surrounded by people who support the same driver as you. So every time he passed by, everyone was screaming and cheering and applauding. It was so incredible. You get this energy around you that just carries you. It was unbelievable. And then Pierre started doing well, but Nico Hulkenberg started doing well. And I don't remember who it was that he took over right in front of us. And we were like, wah! Everyone was cheering and screaming. Because obviously, like, that's very much like everybody's happy when Charles wins in Monaco. Everybody's happy when Nico Hulkenberg does well. Like, we've seen him forever be at the back of the grid. And yet, he's still there, still doing his best. You know already that I've said countless times that if I ever was dropped into the body of a Formula One driver, I would want Nico Hulkenberg to be my teammate because I'm sure he'd be the best help. Like, I think Lando qualified third, if I remember correctly. Max and Oscar were in front of him. So after quali, but we were mostly certain that he wouldn't have a chance. Like, he would probably be on the podium, but that was the most that we could hope for. Which was maybe a teeny tiny little bit disappointing, because you go all the way and you go specifically for him, and you're like, before it all starts, you're obviously hoping that he's gonna like qualify P1 and win the race. But then Oscar did that thing after the safety car, like he almost stopped his car. Honestly, from where we were, it looked like he had halted, completely stopped his car. And we could see that Max was behind him and he had to go to avoid him. It was very obvious from head on that it was extremely dangerous what Oscar had done. So for us, it wasn't a surprise that he got the penalty. Obviously, it was for him. But then he got that penalty and we started thinking, okay, if Oscar gets 10 seconds, then Lando comes up. And then Max spun out and lost like 5 positions. And all of a sudden, Lando was at the front. All he had to do was bring it home, and we knew he would. And Nico Hulkenberg was at the front, and he got a podium. We heard on the loudspeakers that it was Nico's first podium in 15 years in Formula One. With the heat the previous days, the rain on that day, soaked to the bones. I'd been driving back and forth all weekend. And we'd spent half of our afternoon in the medical center the previous day. I was so beyond tired and so beyond happy. Of course I cried. What else was I supposed to do? It was an amazing experience, and if I'm honest, it felt like home, which is something that I've been struggling with for years. The feeling of home, or lack thereof. And yeah, I got very emotional because I needed it. And as much as I'd known that it was a rash decision, going to the Grand Prix when I was unemployed and I didn't know if and when I would get a new job. And to this day, I'm paying off debt that I racked up during this period of unemployment, but it was worth it. I needed it. Otherwise, I would very probably have completely sunk into depression. And once again, Landonoris gripped me tight and raised me from perdition. And my supernatural fans will understand this reference. Anyway, I've been recording for almost an hour now. I had promised myself that it would be a shorter episode because I can't be asked to edit it. But again, I lied. I'm happy that I got to relive those memories this afternoon. And I hope that you enjoyed it, even though it was just me rambling on about great moments in my life. If anyone would like to participate in one of those episodes, I enjoy having someone to talk to. And I would love to have a co-host, or at least someone who more or less regularly comes around and has a chat with me about Formula One. So if you're interested in it, don't hesitate to contact me, be it in the comments on YouTube or Instagram. You can also DM me on Instagram. I'd be very happy to make new friends and to share this love of the rooms with a new person or a bunch of new people. Thank you for listening until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and do all the things that we do when we love a podcast and its hosts. I love you. Bye.